Hello there, I'm Richard, and today we're going to be looking at the history behind the Ravenscraig steelworks. The county of Lanarkshire played a colossal part of Scotland's industrial revolution. Following on from the earliest part of the 20th century, Lanarkshire would play host to a plethora of steel and ironworks. From Blantyre to Coatbridge, the county worked like a blast furnace in full flame. In the early 1950s, a plan was approved allowing Colville's, Britain's top steel producer of the time, to expand its works in Scotland. It was from this plan that Ravenscraig was born. The Craig would grow to host 3 facilities, an ironworks, a steelworks and a steel mill. Over the course of the next 38 years, Ravenscraig would become the steel production capital of Scotland, gaining Motherwell the nickname of the Steelopolis. Following the introduction of the Iron and Steel Act of 1967, the British steel trade was nationalised and ownership of Ravenscraig was passed on to the hands of government. Plant after plant was closed due to an ailing steel industry and an economy in recession, but Ravenscraig battled on, proving that it was both economical and efficient. In 1980, Margaret Thatcher appointed Ian McGregor as the chairman of British Steel. Almost immediately, he recommended that all operations at Ravenscraig should be terminated, suggesting that it could save over £100 million a year for the economy. A gloomy cloud was thrown over the Craig's future, but the workforce responded through the unions by going on the campaign trail. Local man Tommy Brennan was a shop convener at Ravenscraig for 31 years and an active campaigner in the unions during this time.
The history of Ravenscraig, as I said earlier on, was sort of turbulent after the McGregor years, when Mr McGregor came on the scene. Then he was recommending the closure of Ravenscraig. But the fact that the campaign for the retention of steelmaking in Scotland, because it wasn't just Ravenscraig that mattered, because we had a sort of finishing mill at Garcosh as well that we had to think about as well. But Ravenscraig was the last steel maker in Scotland, and if Ravenscraig went, well then that was steel finished in Scotland after sort of a full 100 and odd years of steel making in Scotland, iron making and then steel making.
Even in the face of a great production record, passionate campaigning involving politicians from all parties and great public outcry, operations at Ravenscraig stopped on June 28, 1992. The closure of Ravenscraig signalled the end of an era for Scottish steel production and left thousands jobless, including a current MP for Motherwell and Wishaw, Frank Roy.
I first started working in Ravenscraig when I was 19 in the late 1970s, and I was there for 14-15 years. Both my children were born when I worked in Ravenscraig, and I often say, quite frankly, if Ravenscraig was still opened, then I would still be in it, because it certainly gave me a comfortable lifestyle, enabled me to bring up two children. We had our house, our car, and Ravenscraig was an area where people found quality employment, and that was very, very important. I think that, but you know, many people speak to me about Ravenscraig every single week, and you know the discussions are ongoing, whether with property developers, investors, the partners in the scheme. They realise that the name Ravenscraig is synonymous with this area. What we've tried to say from the start is, yeah, it's got a very good name. We are proud of the background and traditions that Ravenscraig brought to us, but more importantly, it has to be the catalyst for change. It has to be an area where we say second best is not good enough. It's got to be the best for Ravenscraig, because we need investment for the long term for this area. and that's what I hope that we'll be able to achieve as politicians and as partners in the Ravenscraig site.